Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is nutrition, and we're going to discuss nutrition during and after a sickness. So recently I had a client come in saying that after our last session, they had gotten sick. Now, I don't think it was necessarily my fault, but it was coincidental timing, to say the least. So they said they kind of weren't sure how they felt that day, but they wanted to get the workout in since we had it scheduled and stuff. So they got the workout in, but then later that night they got their food in, didn't kind of feel right. The next day they woke up with a little bit of fever, and they just didn't feel good for a couple days in a row. So we met at our next session, which was a week later, and they said they hadn't worked out since our previous session. So they talked to me about their kind of hesitations and fears and confusions over food and training. And I figured it'd make a good podcast for others so they would kind of know what to do nutritional wise while they're sick, and then how to get back to proper nutrition after sickness, and then what are kind of normal expectations throughout that process. So when it comes to being sick, like if you're talking about just having like a light flu, kind of really bad, maybe sinuses or allergies for a day, or just kind of super sleepy, just something where that hits you for like 2 or 3 days and then fades away. So typically what will happen during that time is our body is busy trying to fight off whatever it is that is causing us to get sick. So since the body's busy, it wants to be left alone, meaning you'll find that kind of things that were challenging for you to do normally are even more of a challenge now. So I have a lot of clients that struggle to get enough fluid in throughout the day, like to drink even half a gallon of water, which fluid absolutely is extremely important for overall health and energy and a lot of other good processes. So people need to be drinking more fluid. But if that's something they normally struggle with, when they get sick, their body's going to not even want to bother with that at all. So our body is busy, it's preoccupied. So if we think to ourselves is, if we had what felt like the busiest week in months, and then somebody tried to get us to do extra work on top of that, we'd be like, screw you, I'm not doing it. We get mad, we get angry, we wouldn't want to do it. So our body is normally feeling okay, and it has a normal workload, but when it's sick, it has more work to do. So then if you try to still adhere to kind of your most challenging normal behaviors, the body's going to tell you to go screw yourself and it won't really want to do it. So you're not going to feel thirsty if you don't normally drink fluids. You're not going to feel hungry if you don't normally eat food. So whatever you normally don't do, it's going to get harder and harder to even do that when you're sick. So what we talked about was her what she said happened basically was she didn't really drink anything. And then she was afraid to eat sugars, and all her body really wanted was carbs, and she was afraid to get overweight or fat, so she didn't eat anything for like a day or two. Broke down, ended up having bread and pasta as her carb source, felt super guilty over it. She gained 3 pounds of weight and was just absolutely distraught and thought she had ruined everything. Now, I'm talking about an individual specific person, and I care about this person. So they're a nice human being, and I'm being super nice here right now because I'm kind of frustrated in the sense that they know better than all of that behavior. So, in a sense to where let's talk through what they're beating themselves up over that don't matter. So, for example, should they have started to drink water? Yes. So, should they have started to eat food? Yes, even if it was carbs. It's okay. So, we talk about in podcasts all the time that the amount of calories you eat is what's most important. So, we talk about in podcast number 41. I tell you guys to listen to that podcast all the time. So, podcast 41 tells you what the most important components of diets are. And that's the diet, whether it's to lose fat, gain muscle, sport performance, anything. So, diet is just a kind of controlled way of eating. Structured way of eating. So calories are most important. Calories determine the direction of your diet. If you eat extra calories, you gain extra weight. If you eat below what you need calorie-wise, you lose weight. So it kind of tells us kind of where the diet goes. Next thing is protein intake. Are we having enough protein to do repairs and all the other things and processes that the body takes care of? that protein takes care of in the body. Then we have meal timing, whether our food is timed appropriately to our activity level. And then the fourth most important thing is the quality of the foods that you eat, whether something's a sugary carb or a complex, quote unquote, healthy carb. So the fact that they were worried about carbs is what kind of frustrates me. And it kind of bummed me out when we were having the conversation because I was hoping that they already knew better than that. So there they were. They weren't having any calories. They weren't therefore then having anywhere near enough protein. And they weren't even mentioning anything about timing. And all they were worried about was whether they were eating carbs or not. Thinking that carbs were going to automatically make them fat. Oh man, come on now. Please, please, please. Let's move past this. Okay? Carbs are not bad for you. We need to educate ourselves. And then once educated, accept facts for facts and stop believing stupid old bullshit. So carbs are not bad for you. They do not make you fat. Overeating anything makes you fat. Eating all your foods at the wrong time makes you fat. So if you don't eat anything during the day because you're too busy to eat, quote unquote, too busy, and then you eat everything at night, and half of it being garbagey shit because you're so starved from the day. So, it's the fact that you're overeating at night and undereating during the day. Your timing is off. That's the problem. That's why you get overweight. Okay? The fact that we just eat too much food in general for our activity levels is why we get fat. You don't get fat just because you have carbs. Oh my gosh, please stop thinking that is true. That is so incredibly frustrating. So carbs do not make you fat. Eating too much and eating at ridiculous time frames is what makes people fat and soft and pudgy. Okay? So, the fact that she had bread and pasta, is that the thing that frustrated me? Hell no! I'm glad she did. I'm glad she started getting some freaking calories in her body because her body needed some energy to fight off the sickness. So like we said, our body is stubborn when it's sick. It doesn't really want anything to mess with. It doesn't want to have to deal with the processing of food. So it's going to say, listen, I don't want to deal with that. And we have to tell it, hey, we're the adult in this situation. We know that for you to fight off a cold, you need to have some reserves and you have some energy to do that. Okay? I can't operate a machine on no fuel. So if the machine of your body is to fight off that cold, it's going to need fuel. Since it doesn't want to deal with complex digestion, it wants just quick, easy, simple, digestible sources of food, sources of energy. And that is carbs, most notably sugary carbs. So we start processing sugars basically the second it touches our cheek linings, and we process sugars very fast, very efficiently. So sugar is already kind of in the form. There's a bunch of chemistry stuff behind all this, but in a sense, our body takes food and breaks it into glucose for energy. Carbohydrates that are already sugars are very close in structure to glucose, if not actually glucose. So it just means it's less work for the body to break it down and convert it over to energy. So our body says, fine, if you're going to give me fuel, give me something quick and easy so I can just be moving on and still taking care of fighting away this cold. Don't burden me down with all this extra stupid work. Give me what I need and let me move on. So it says carbs, carbs, carbs. And we say, okay, fine. I'd rather have you have some fuel than no fuel. So we want to go ahead and give our body carbohydrates, but you also want to give it tons of fluid, water. It could be Gatorade. It could be orange juice because Gatorade and orange juice have glucose in it. So you're giving it the carbs plus the liquid. So you're hydrating yourself. At the same time, you're trying to replenish calories. So you do want to eat when you're sick and as soon as you can after feeling sick. You want to eat food as fast as you can. You want to drink enough fluid. Get back up to your normal levels of fluid intake. Get back up to your normal level of calories. That is going to help you feel the best the soonest. Okay? Now, we said that the client had worried about their gain 3 pounds. Well, what it was water weight. They can't possibly gain 3 pounds of fat in 3 days anyhow. So, but what they did was, since they hadn't drank any water for 2 days or so and no food, their body was very dehydrated and very emptied. Then all of a sudden, they started drinking more fluid and they started eating food. And the body said, hey, you know what? For the last 2 days, we haven't had a damn thing. Since you're giving us this now, let's hold on to it. And even if we don't need it all right now, let's hold on to it though, just in case we do need it. And then all of a sudden, you don't give us anything again. So the body held on to extra water as a way of kind of protecting itself since it had just gone through a period of time without enough water. So once she gets back to her normal water intake, once she gets back to her normal food, and her body starts to trust her again, that she won't take that stuff away, that water weight is going to drop right back off. So all it is water weight, not fat buildup. So she wasn't even eating enough calories to be at her normal baseline needs. So of course it couldn't have converted to body fat because she didn't even have enough calories. There was no excess. So just because she was eating carbs, okay, which she deemed as being negative, which there's no reason for them to be negative at all. They're not negative, okay? They're just a form of energy, just like fats are. So she wasn't even eating above her normal maintenance, meaning she wasn't eating in a surplus. So she couldn't have possibly formed body fat. So we actually talked about this in a recent podcast, number 498, about fat loss versus water weight loss. And we talked about kind of the differences between fat formation and water weight. And we would touch on the fact that if you went a period of time without enough food and without enough water, and then all of a sudden your body gets food and water, it tries to supercompensate, which is a fancy word, but they use it in the nutrition world. So it tries to supercompensate by holding on to extras, just in case it goes into a deficit again. Once it trusts that you won't put it into a deficit, it'll let go of those extras. So the importance of water is to get us back to feeling hydrated. So all the processes of our body, everything our body does to fight off sickness, requires water. Okay, we need to be hydrated during that process. So we need to hydrate our body. We need to get back to drinking enough fluid. Then we want to get our body any food it needs to get back up to its normal calorie amounts. Whether that's carbohydrates, whether that's fats, whether that's proteins, whether it's whatever the hell else you eat, just get back to eating. Get some energy in your body so you can then have energy and fuel to fight off that sickness. So we need to drink fluid as quickly as we can, regardless of what type it is. We need to start eating foods back up to our normal caloric needs, regardless of whatever type of food it is. Then, once you get to baseline hydration, baseline caloric intake, okay, of what you normally would need, you then want to start to try to clean them up. So if you were drinking a bunch of orange juice, but now all of a sudden you're feeling a little better, switch back over to no or low calorie liquids, whatever you normally might drink. If you're eating a bunch of breads and pastas, just to get your calories back up to baseline, once they're up to baseline, start swapping some of that out for proteins and healthy fats and get back to your normal food. Okay, so that's our main goal. Get some fluid in no matter what quality it is. Get some food in no matter what quality it is. Give your body a fighting chance. Give it some resources. Give it some energy that it can fight the sickness with. As soon as you get back to your baseline normal amounts of calories and fluid, start cleaning them up and getting back onto your regular diet. That's the goal. Okay? Now, the client then had kind of guilt over whether they thought they should have done more. And this is, again, kind of a thing that, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh my God. So, I am probably burned out to some degree with people questioning their efforts here and there. And it's good that we kind of question and say, can I do better? But once we've questioned that, we've gotten an answer, we need to move on. So she asked, should I have done more? Meaning like should I have drank more? And my answer was, you already knew you should have drank more. So if you could, yes, if you drank as much as you could, then you did your best. And she's like, well, how do I know if I did my best? I don't even know how to answer that question. That's a ridiculously frustrating question. Because how do I know if I did my best? Did you do the most of the effort that you thought you had available to you? If the answer is yes, then yes. If the answer is no, then no. Try harder next time. So I don't mean to be negative, and I don't want her to feel bad. Like, Hopefully she knows I care about her. But if you feel like you did your best in the moment, then that has to be the answer. Then yes, you did your best. Could we have done better? Yeah. I could do better with every damn thing I do every all day. So I could do better every day. But did I do my best with what I had going on? And in the moment, I made the best choices available to me? Yes. Then in hindsight, we learned that maybe there were times or ways we could have done a little better. So we just apply that to future situations. So you just have to accept the facts of what's happening. If you feel too sick to work out and you know that if you went to the gym you'd get sick, then you have to accept the fact that you can't work out. And if that means you missed a workout goal, well then you can't control anything. So why the hell would you beat yourself up? If your body couldn't do it, you couldn't work out. So just let that go. If your body could do it and you're just being lazy, then hell yes, beat yourself up a little bit, get mad at yourself, kick yourself in the pants and say, you know what, next time I'm not pulling that bullshit. Like, I know I could have done something. I'm going to get off my ass. I'm going to go do something. So I've had clients all the time, and actually this client was an awesome, badass human being, and they actually went to the gym one of the sick days, tried their best, got one round of things in, felt horrible, and just went home. So they have all of the desire. This person's awesome in the sense that they try their best, but they beat themselves up too much, and they question themselves too much. If you tried your best, then that is your best. Be proud of yourself. Don't constantly beat the shit out of yourself, like thinking you could have done more or should have done more. So I was talking with somebody recently, and they brought up the phrase is "don't shit on yourself." So I've mentioned this in one of the past podcasts, and if you think, well, I should have done this, I should have done that, whether it's stuff in diet, in training, in life, relationships, things at work, I should have done this, I should have done that. Okay, don't shit all over yourself, was the phrase. So do what you can do. If you are doing the most of what you can do, then be happy with what you're doing. If you would like to do more, analyze what you're doing, see if you can be more efficient or get rid of things that don't matter as much. But constantly just work on it. No shoulda, coulda, wouldas, anything like that. Okay, the only thing the past is for is to have awesome, happy memories. But in regards to like negative things, is you learn. You say, okay, that happened. What can I learn from that to apply for a better next time that happens? Once you have that, you forget it and you move on. So, to that client, I'm glad you tried your best to get the workout in. And bummer it didn't work out, but freaking congratulations to you that you went to the gym and you got in there and you tried something. Okay, as for the nutrition, we know we should have drank fluid. So try to drink more fluid next time. Okay, don't beat yourself up over carbohydrates. For the love of God, quit thinking of carbohydrates as bad. Go listen to podcast 41 again. I already know you listened to it once. Listen to it again. Then listen to it again. Then listen to it again. There's nothing wrong with carbohydrates. Okay? You need to have your calories established first. So if your body could process breads and pasta, and it felt fine, and that gave it some energy to fight off the sickness, congratulations, that's awesome, that's freaking great, okay? Do that, feed it, give it some energy. Only worry about those calories if your calories, start going above your normal maintenance. So if you eat 1,000 calories of breads and pastas, but your normal maintenance calories is 1,500, you're totally fine. Eat up that bread and pasta as much as you want, give your body some fuel. Once you get back up to 1,500 calories and you can stomach that amount of food, you then would want to clean up the food. Okay? And remember, podcast number 498. Remember the difference between water weight and fat. Okay? You can't form 3 pounds of fat in one day. You can't lose 3 pounds of fat in one day. So recognize what's happening in your body. Did you have a period of time without food and fluid, and then all of a sudden you put it in? Then your body's going to ramp up things. It's going to hold on to things. Your body weight might be up for the next day or two, but if you establish back to normal behaviors, the body weight will go back down to normal. Okay, so that's kind of our rules of thumb. When we're sick, try to get fluid in as much as you can, regardless of whether it has sugars or not. Actually, it might be a better thing if it has sugars, so we can get your calories up. So get fluid intake and calories up to your basic levels. then start to clean them up and get back on track with your normal diets. Okay? So, hopefully this was helpful. If anybody has any questions about this, or if you're actually struggling with this at the moment, or you want clarity on some extra questions, just reach out to us. Our email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. I am here to help, even though I seem grumpy sometimes. So, thank you for putting up with my grumpiness. But if you need anything, just email us, and we'll be happy to help, okay? So if you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. You can tell us at our email at brutalironjim@gmail.com. Okay? As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.